All right. Well, we have a lot of information to go through today. So we're just going to get started. Please fill out the polls if you haven't already. But today we are very excited as a section to host two members from the Housing and Community Development Department of California and their data section to talk about this year's cycle of the Housing Element Annual Progress Report. Many of you on this call I know are very deeply familiar with this. Others may be less familiar. So we wanted to bring you this as part of our legislative training series to both understand, why we do this every year, what is the legislative background, and then also jump into the logistics of this year's cycle. We will be providing we are recording this and we will circulate a YouTube link with the recording. And we invite you to put your questions in the Q&A portal, or just put it in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many questions as possible. But before we get started, we are going to do the land acknowledgement. So Robert.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. Welcome everybody. Robert Flores, Programs Director here with the Inland Empire section. Welcome you to the webinar. The poll question number 1 has been up on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and end it and start poll question number 2, and then I'll get into the land acknowledgement. But I'll share the results for poll question 1. It appears that there's about 75% of you are public agency planners, another 15% are private, and 10% are other.
Right.
Let me go ahead and launch the next one, and well, that's launched. We'll get into it. Like I said, my name is Robert Flores, Program Director for the section, and I will be doing the land acknowledgement. I want to acknowledge that I am speaking from Moreno Valley, California, in Riverside County, which is the traditional land of the Cahuilla people, according to the Digital Atlas of California Native Americans. And this is something that our section really likes to do and ensure that we do that during all our webinars. I'll try and pass it back to you, Tim.
Great, thank you. We can end the poll here. We were very excited that other sections were able to join us for this webinar. So thank you to those that are in our section and also joining from the Central Coast, Orange County, and other areas. But really appreciate you joining, and HCD, of course, for making yourself available. So we are not going to waste any more time. We want to hear from our two resident experts on the APR. Today we have with us Spike Friedman, who is the Housing Data Section Chief at HCD. And he oversees a lot of the quantitative data gathering, APR, technical assistance, and other housing element efforts. And then we have Kevin Rolfness, who is the lead specialist in the data section on the APR. So we're excited to have them. I'm going to stop my screen sharing so that they can take it away from here. Again, please, we invite your questions in the Q&A at the bottom, and we will we'll ask questions at the end, towards the end.
Cool. Thanks, Taylor. Thanks, Robert. Thanks to the IE section of the APA and also the Central Coast, who all reached out. Love a twofer. And I'm coming from the city of Ridgecrest, which Paiute Shoshone area. And yeah, I'll get into it. I wasn't able to bring that other slide over, Taylor, but I have another presentation. So I'll go between two presentations, that like what tech issues could happen there.
No worries at all.
Nothing. It'll be.
You don't even need the slide if you just want to talk generally.
No, I don't mind. I think it's helpful. There we go. Is it in there? Can you see the arena process? Okay, great. So this is the high level kind of state housing planning overview, where and I'm also on the RENA team. If feel free if the APR questions run out, we can maybe talk RENA. But so RENA, Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or sometimes allocation, I use them interchangeably. That starts, we come up with a number, goes down to the county or the region or the COG. So in your case, SCAG or SLO in the Central Coast. And then you'll get the number for your 8-year planning window for your general plan. So, us, county, region, then to the local governments, housing element, which is done every 8 years, but then the annual progress report, which as you can imagine happens every year. And initially started, I think, as kind of a qualitative tool to track housing element implementation, but has really been geared towards a quantitative side in recent years. And that is how we measure RENA progress, more specifically, the issued building permits in Table A2 of the APR form. So that's APR. It's based in Government Code Section 65400, which gives us form authority. But yeah, hopefully that gives you the high level, and then we can kind of get into the weeds. So now we're gonna do a quick swap. Here we go. There. Cool.
Great.
All right. Let me bounce it back. So there gave you a little background. Now we're going to talk about updates to 2024, preview some changes for next year's APR. So that'll be the 2025 APR due in 2026. And then we're going to go over the new online portal, the registration, uploading an APR, and a couple other things, managing consultants as well. And then we'll look at the submitting part, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about Table D. So that when I said qualitative, we've gone quantitative, but the qualitative side is still very important for housing element program implementation. So for the form that's due this year, the 2024 form, for folks who've done it before, no real big changes. References to SB 35 were updated for SB 423. We, in Table A, if you have, for building applications, if you have an SB 9 lot split, you don't have to have specific units. A lot of folks came to us recently saying, hey, I have an SB 9 lot split. We're not going to have a unit for anytime soon. So what should we put? And we defaulted to 1, but now we've changed it to 0. As that that lot split progresses to a permit, we would maybe want an actual unit there. But that's one of the more substantive changes. We updated the Table B data with planning period information, RENA progress for each jurisdiction. If you have recently submitted revised APRs, that may not be up to date, but we can manually update that form if you like Table B to go to your governing body. And then Table D, the housing program implementation, we added more cells and increased character counts. And then I don't have it in the slides, but the upcoming for the next year, we have 3 pieces of legislation we want to mention. AB 2580, that's historical resources. That's something you're going to want to maybe start tracking. We're going to have more information in the future about how that can be reported in tools. We're obviously going to provide technical assistance. Then we have AB 2667, that's opportunity zones. That's another one where we're going to be really looking into how we can help and provide technical assistance and tools. And I think the statute, I was looking at it again today, this morning, I think it even says that the department has to come up with standard reporting for that. And then the other one is AB 3093, but that changes the income categories, but that's more of a 7th cycle change. And most of y'all are pretty early, I think in year 2 or 3 of the 6th cycle. So don't have to worry about that. I don't think anytime soon. Cool. So now we'll get into the portal, how to register. The main thing I want to highlight here is so our new portal combined our planning side with the grants and loan side, and they have kind of some stricter security. So what we did in the past was we were kind of willy-nilly just giving one set of login credentials to local governments. Now each local government has an account, and then it'll have user accounts associated with that local government. So each planner, like each government staff person, has to have an account, each consultant, and then that account is associated with the jurisdiction. So that's kind of the big change. Fortunately, it's it's flashy modern Salesforce platform, so some of this stuff is pretty straightforward, just like any personal account. I already provided the link to the portal. You go there, you click new account. You're going to provide just some basic initial information, name, email, and then select role type. That's an important part that distinguishes between jurisdiction staff and consultant staff, or consultants. So that make sure you do applicant there if you're local governments. It sounds like most folks in this call are local government staff. So then close out the browser. You should get confirmation email. Follow the email. I'm going a little faster because we have these guides, and it's frees up more time for Q&A. But you'll get follow the email. Then I'm sure you all know how to do strong password at this point. I think I rely on the Apple chain at this point. You get a little welcome. Then is that, I think, yeah, from there you'll go and add your jurisdiction. And then you'll provide some more information. Here is another important step, similar to that applicant or consultant. Here, there's, as I mentioned before, there's the planning side, that's housing elements, site inventories, APRs, and then there's the grants and loans side. So most folks here, you're just going to just ask for just worry about the planning documents and should be good. So check that box. Sorry, blurry slide, but we don't read these anyways. There's your legal agreement. Check the box, move on. And then you should be done. But this is the other interesting part. So there's going to be a primary user for each jurisdiction. And that person will approve other folks within that jurisdiction asking to be associated with the jurisdiction. So this could be a little bump in a very small speed. We'll call it speed bump instead in the process. If I think when you sign up and you have a primary user identified for your jurisdiction, you will be notified that it's the approval request is going to that person. And so we've been hearing from jurisdictions saying like, hey, that person's no longer with us. Can you approve my account? Can you establish a new primary account user? So if you have any issues here, please just let us know. We'll approve your account. We'll set up your primary account. We'll get all that squared away for you. We try to use our existing contacts in the APR housing element world, but we know there's turnover. So, or we heard from a jurisdiction where that primary person was off for an extended leave, like a 2-3 week vacation. So more than happy to approve that for you. So just keep an eye out for that email, see where it's going, see what's going on. And if you haven't got it approved even within the day, I would say go ahead. I'm managing the account inbox. Go ahead and shoot me a message and I'll get you approved. Only a few clicks. So speaking of primary users, they can manage the consultants. So once they're, if you're having consultants submit documentation on your behalf, once a primary user has access in the top right, you'll see a little profile icon, kind of like social media. So you go to the entity profile, and it's pretty straightforward. Once you're in the entity profile, you'll see this consultant manager part. Click on that little like caret drop down, and then in the top window or top search bar, right under say search under where it says search consultant, type in the name and then hit enter or whatever, and then I think in the drop down below where it says select consultant, that name should pop up, and then click add. Yeah, you can see I was focusing on the number 4, but you can see it in 5, like, oh, I put in Christopher. Now once that's there, I click on the select drop down and that person should come up, and then click add. Then you'll see them in there, and there's, if you ever want to remove them, there's a nice big remove button, and then if you click on the removing, you should get a nice success notification too. So that's consultant. I won't talk on tasks too much because that was better for housing element submissions. But just to show that there's going to be new compatible or new features in this platform, you can be assigned tasks by HCD staff, and then you can monitor your tasks. You can get notifications when tasks are due, all kinds of cool stuff. And then that you can kind of see there's all kinds of view options and neat stuff. So that's another thing to kind of play around with. If you don't see your jurisdiction's information, sometimes it'll default to recently viewed housing elements and APRs. And if you're new, you obviously haven't seen anything. So you'd have to click on the caret and put all. And then here's what a task would look like. You can add files to it. You mark it complete. There's details, and all the people associated with it, dates, that sort of thing. And then like social media, you get the bells, you get notifications and stuff. So that's kind of neat. But I think for the purposes of APR, I don't think you'll be dealing with the Oh, Spike, go ahead and correct me if or add anything else.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say, just for context for folks, once you've gotten set up in HCD Connect, you'll be able to submit housing elements and electronic sites inventories directly through the portal, which is a new feature for us. Obviously, previously we've taken those over email. I mean, in the past, we took housing elements over fax and literal mail. And so this will be the first time you'll be able to submit those electronically through a portal to the department. You will still be able to submit over email if you have any issues with the portal, if there are file size issues, anything like that. Please do feel free to reach out either to the APR team at apr@hcd.ca.gov or the housing element team as is applicable to your situation. But want to flag that going into the 7th cycle that you will be able to submit housing elements through this portal as well. So getting set up, getting your primary user set up, even if it seems like just a one-off for APRs, it will leave your jurisdiction in good shape heading into the 7th cycle and all the back and forth that might come with housing element revisions.
Yeah, thanks, Spike. All good points. Yeah, you can still submit your APR to our APR inbox as well. And a note on the consultants, that was assuming they had an account already. If they don't have an account, have them go through the account creation setup, select consultant, and then your primary user should get a notification like, hey, so-and-so consultant wants to be associated with your jurisdiction, and then you can approve that account. And they don't worry, they won't have like too much, they can't mess up too much with your jurisdiction account. They can just submit documentation. Speaking of submitting, so this is, once you're in, pretty easy. There's a HE/APR upload bit at the top. Then once you click on that, you click upload APR, put in your jurisdiction. It should only have yours. That should be pretty fast. This is, I think, from a consultant. This screenshot here is a consultant who has access to a couple other jurisdictions. The year should auto generate. I think for now we're still doing, if you have a revised APR for a previous year, we prefer that by email. So it just be the current year. Current planning period. Y'all are in the pretty solidly in the 6th cycle, so don't have to worry about split cycle years. So you'd only, but if there were a split cycle year, you would be able to put the APR in both planning periods. Both planning periods would be there, but generally you're just going to have the one. Then here you can click the upload file button and navigate to your file. You can also do a drag and drop. Then you'll get the little upload files window showing your file in a progress bar. Then it goes back to that HE APR upload window, and it should show your file. And then you'd be able to click the submit button. If you happen, I know it certainly happens, I do that sort of thing all the time. If you accidentally dropped in the wrong file or clicked the wrong one, just hit cancel and start it from scratch. You can't like swap out a file here. Also, want to remind y'all, the naming convention, I was recently uploading a revised APR, and I think it's a little more strict, the new portal on the naming convention. It's jurisdiction year. So and Riverside 2023 for the city, Riverside County 2020, or no, 2024. What am I doing? Riverside 2024 for the city, Riverside County 2024 for the county. And yeah, and then you'll get a processing. You won't get a success fail right away like our previous portal. You'll get a processing notification, and you'll get an email saying it's being processed, and then you'll get an email if it's successful or if there are errors and it failed. And then also while it's processing, it basically creates an APR import record. You can go look at that. That'll give you the status of the file if you want, if you don't want to wait for the email and you're just clicking refresh, which I want to do from time to time. You could do that, but you should get the email. And if you get an error, it'll give you a link to that record and to that directly to the error file. It'll create a little Excel error file outlining all the errors. Feel free to take a shot at that. Sometimes it's pretty basic stuff. Because I feel like folks, there's a lot of copy and pasting from how you normally store your permit information. So sometimes that doesn't translate over. So it's just a matter of like using our values instead. But if anything, if it's overwhelming and you know like I'm seeing all these errors, I don't know what's going on. It's my first APR. Go ahead and reach out to the inbox or the APR inbox, or me directly. I can forward it there, and we can take care of it. We have dedicated staff on that inbox, and then we have a few other staff who will be focused on APRs as the April 1 deadline approaches. Which, did I mention that? I don't know if I mentioned that. Oh, and speaking of the April 1 deadline, for SCAG jurisdictions impacted by the recent fires, that deadline is May 15. So there's a little grace period built in there. But if you have any questions, reach out to us on that. So back to the error file. Yeah, that's where it would be. I think this record I have here is still processing, or there hasn't been an upload. But that's where you would, this is the record in the details you would see that error file. And then here's just again, cool views. You can see all your APR imports. Go back, check them out. It'll have, if you had one that failed, it'll have a record for that. Or if you have the successful one, you can go back and access that. Now back to the more qualitative piece. So table D is program implementation. I'm the messenger on this piece. This isn't stuff I handle directly, but yes, we're proactively monitoring approved housing elements. We're monitoring those programs, and specifically the programs that were critical to how the housing element was found into substantial compliance. Those you can usually find, if you're new to the jurisdiction, you can find in your HCD letter finding you in substantial compliance. You can see those programs. So those are the ones that are going to get a little more attention. And then, yeah, just asking all to provide a pretty complete and thorough a breakdown of your housing element programs in Table D. And we keep getting asked about this. I think if there's anyone out there who's not in compliance right now, we want the draft language as opposed to just approved fifth cycle housing element language. And some tips here on completing Table D: if a program has more than one objective, and break those objectives out. Include the status of progress of all the programs, even ones that are due later, have due dates outside of the reporting year. And then, yeah, if something is complete, include the ordinance, the resolution number, and a link if possible, because otherwise HCD staff may have to reach out to you. And then, yeah, just provide as much information as possible in terms of units, dates of approvals, and and anything else relevant to the program. And I think that's it. I included links in the chat. Our APR page is a great place to start. That's where you'll get the most current version of the form. We're always straightening out some certain things may go wrong with the form, so we're fixing those. We just recently had a little issue with the add rows feature in table A, so that got straightened out. So if you're having any issues with the form, make sure you're getting it straight from the website. There's also instructions, FAQ. Those are thorough. I would maybe start with the FAQ if you're new. The instructions can be pretty wonky or like pretty in the weeds. And perhaps a little overwhelming, but a good step-by-step guide. Also included a link to the portal if you want to get started with your account creation, and also included the APR dashboard because, I mean, that's kind of we do it because it's the law, but also the why is this is just an awesome data source that is pretty unique when compared to other states and other areas of the country, and we're really fortunate to have it. And it all starts with the work y'all are doing at the local level. So really appreciate your work, and it's fun to see it in the dashboard, and it's also if you can see your planning period schedule, your arena progress, all kinds of stuff in there, which could maybe be helpful as well. I know folks like Table B to track arena progress, maybe go to the governing body, but maybe, I don't know, maybe a screenshot from our dashboard could be helpful as well. Spike, anything else?
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue into the first question that we received from Greta. And I will thank Greta, as she was one of our HCD Connect beta testers. So thank you, Greta, as always, for that. Are units reported under Table F now reflected in previous year's total in Table B? And I'm going to answer this question. Like a little bit of an indirect way, which is to say, our form that you download is like a static document, and the data in there is itself static. So we capture that on December 1st of the previous year. And so those numbers that show up in Table B on the form itself are reflective of a point in time. Now, we know that for the purposes of submitting your APR to your governing body, sometimes they want to see something that is updated and potentially updated based on revised or additional APRs submitted after that date. Let's say you've gone back as a planner and revised your 2022 and 2023 APR in early 2025 and need those totals to be updated to be reflective of that. Reach out to apr@hcd.ca.gov and we can update your Table B to be reflective of the most up-to-date information. Table B should be reflective of any previous year Table F submitted in a timely fashion, but we know that revisions happen. And so we want to be able to be supportive of you guys when you go to your local governing bodies. And frequently Table F is an issue there. I will also flag that if you're using the APR dashboard just shows the construction pipeline. So that will not include your Table F data or your projection period units. That said, Table B will be reflective of that. And when you upload new APRs, you'll be able to see on a dashboard within HCD Connect your most up-to-date Table B data. We can also see that on our end. And if you're asking for this not for the purpose of preemptively checking your APR or working with a local government, but you just want to get the most up-to-date Table B, you can also reach out to us or log into HCD Connect and take a screenshot of that, and that will be reflective of your housing pipeline, your approved Table F and F2 units, as well as your projection period units. So hopefully that answers that question, Greta. But there's a little bit of nuance there, which is why I want to answer that one live.
Yes, there's another question that you kind of touched on. Can you speak to the requirement for jurisdictions to approve the APR report to the local legislative body as stated in the cited government code section? Just asking to speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, so that requirement is in 65400 that it be approved by the local governing body on an annual basis. Frequently that happens prior to submission to HCD, but also frequently we engage in a TA process that might be contemporaneous with getting that on the agenda or something like that. We are happy to, vet the data, check our integration, and potentially even accept an APR prior to that getting approved, but it is a requirement that it be approved, if that makes sense.
Great, hopefully that answers that question. I see a note here that just states that a boss or that primary user had to reach out to be set up before other users could be approved. Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Kevin mentioned, HCD Connect has a primary user function. In some cases with the API, I'm going to get in the weeds. We're going to get behind the scenes.
This is
We
what we like.
We preloaded our new Salesforce platform with all of last year, and in some cases the previous year's APR submitter, so that if you logged in for the first time and you submitted last year, it would automatically make you the primary user, just to like simplify this function. That was in place for a couple months, but then we launched HomeKey through HCD Connect as well. And now that there is a grants and loans function as well, we've taken that off. And so the reality is, like, when someone first logs into HCD Connect and associates themselves with a jurisdiction, we will have to approve that. Now, we do that on the planning side by checking to see if you've submitted before, checking the domain name on the email, checking, org charts. We do our basic due diligence. It's not quite as high a security threshold because we don't, issue grants and loans. There's no money associated with it. We want to keep the barrier to submitting APRs and housing elements to be as low as possible. We want to make it as easy for you guys as possible to be able to submit. And so our security protocols reflect that. But if you're having issues, in some cases, a pre-existing user might have been made primary, or we automatically made a planner primary just because they've been the one submitting the APR to us year after year after year, and you need to get that revised, you can reach out directly to us and we can get that fixed on our end of the system. When the system first launched in the fall, that would maybe take a couple back and forth. We've gotten pretty good at handling these issues now, and hopefully can get you resolved in an hour or two and be back ready to go. And again, set up long-term with the right person as primary, because once we've got that set up, that's going to be great for your 7-cycle housing element. If you have sites inventory updates, they'll be able to approve someone to do that as well. So things like that, again, we're trying to make it as easy as we can. We know this year is going to have some hiccups and hurdles just because it's a new system. And we really are grateful for all the planners who are bearing with us and getting your jurisdiction set up right for long-term success and integration within the HCD Connect system. Because this isn't only planning, it's not only HomeKey, but our long-term vision for this is also all of HCD's funding programs running through HCD Connect in the long term. So you'll be able to get NOFASIN through here for all HCD funding in the long term. Kevin, did I miss anything there? Is there anything you want to add?
No, that was great. Apologies if I'm jumping ahead, but do you mind if I could take Oscar's question?
Please.
Yeah, okay. I think what we could maybe do there is.
Let's read. Would you mind reading it out loud?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sure. Would HCD be able to help update a revision to a previous APR? There was a significant project that was not reported on that previous APR, but it seems easier to update the single project rather than resubmit the entire form. Thanks. Yeah, agree with you there. What we could probably do is get a copy of that. If you don't have the previous form, get a copy of that. Maybe it's easier on our end to get the copy because we have that stored not only on the portal but on our SharePoint or whatever it is. I feel like it's changed 3 times since I've been at HCD, but we'll have a copy of it, and we could send it to you. You can add that project, and then we can upload it. And then sometimes the new requirements get in the way, but we're happy to take the lead on that. And values have changed. The streamlining column used to just be, is it SB 35, yes or no? And now it's a drop down of like 5 different options, including SB 9 duplex, lot split, or SB 423. So I think we'll send you a copy. You can add it, and then and we can also, but Spike, we can also import the old APR into the new form and then add it. But then some
Yeah.
of those new fields are missing and we'd have to complete.
Yeah, you should probably sorry, long answer is you should reach out to apr@hcd.ca.gov or specifically kevin.rolfness@hcd.ca.gov
Yeah.
and see what the best pathway forward is, I guess I'd say. Because we want to make it as easy as possible, but to Kevin's point, we have, again, getting in the weeds, Salesforce data integration updates annually to align with any new form requirements. So sometimes that'll invalidate if you were to resubmit a previously acceptable form. And so there might be some tweaks. Kevin pointed out it's typically through streamlining. We also do, and I'll just mention this out loud, in addition to SB 9, 423, AB 2011 or any SB 6 project should be flagged as such, because that's data that the legislature is interested in terms of program uptake for those streamlining programs.
Great, thank you. I just apologize if you answered this one, but there's a question here. Does it need to be submitted to both the portal, HCD Connect portal, and the Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation for the 2024 year?
Yeah, I believe they're still taking it over email. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say like once you've gotten it up on Connect or you're done with us, as it were, shoot it over to them. Because we do that data integration and validation on our side, that way you're making sure you're getting them the final latest and greatest version that meets all the statutory requirements that we're checking for.
Very helpful. And I did see that on website on the APR landing page. So that is, oh, good. Kevin just dropped it in there as well.
Yeah, I think it's still the same
Great.
email address. There was talk of having them come
Update.
be a part of our roadshow, and maybe some changes on there, but then with the fires, I know their staff got pulled a different direction. So I think it's safe to assume email them. Things are the same as previous years.
Yeah, and I believe next year you're going to need new emails for them because they've rebranded as LCI moving forward.
Great. And I think we might answer this, but the registration is live, so they can access the Connect portal now.
Yep.
So using the links, I'll let me go ahead and share my screen again because we have those emails on there as well.
Yeah, and I would recommend doing that as soon as possible. Again, just getting your account set up. It shouldn't take too much time, but that way, if there are any hiccups or hurdles that you run into, you're set up, so you're not dealing with that last day type situation, trying to submit your essay on the last day or getting things in and all of a sudden, no, it's not, I can't log in. Again, we will take it through email. We're not cracking down on anything like that, but I will say our funding side can't be as forgiving as we are. So getting set up in HCD Connect with APRs is a really good, like, low barrier way to make sure you're integrated in the system. And I just want to echo something Kevin said earlier. April 1st deadline for everybody, but we are for fire impacted jurisdictions in the SCAG region, providing grace and extra time, an extra 6 weeks to May 15th.
Great. That's really helpful. Did I miss any questions, Robert, or did you see any more?
No, I think we got them all. I do have a follow-up for Spike, I believe. If the APR is submitted via email due to technical issues or whatever the case may be, does that still make it onto the dashboard? Does that get integrated on your side on the back end? Just want to make sure so the jurisdictions can know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we intake those, and those get sent over to a staff member, dependent, and they will upload it to HCD Connect, and we'll reach out to the jurisdiction if there are any errors with that and provide technical assistance and help resolve those errors. So it's a very similar process. It's just one where we're the one who's pressing upload on the file essentially and being a little more proactive on the technical assistance side rather than and you still can at that point log into HCD Connect if you haven't already and see the error file, but we'll email it directly to you and be like, hey, here are the things that we recommend you update so that we can get this all resolved. And one other note for folks this year submitting, because we've got a bunch of things. This is a complicated and frankly burdensome process, and we know that. And we're working with the Possibility Lab at UC Berkeley to better understand how you guys are collecting data, how you're submitting data, and if there are ways in which we can make this easier, either through technical assistance, form changes, proactive work, things like that. And so there will be a survey going out to all submitters this year, both for folks who submit. I think after March 1st, you'll get it like when we're done with the back and forth, like, hey, we provided technical assistance, your form's good to go. Here's a survey link. We're also going to send a bulk one out to everybody who submitted sometime early April. So if you can take the like 15 minutes to fill that out so that we can make your lives easier in the future, we would really, really appreciate that.
Great. And you can send that link to us and we'll distribute it to our members. Make sure that gets distributed a couple ways. Well, this has been very, very helpful. We really appreciate you making the time. Did any questions come in? You know, if not, I have a couple closing things. Yeah, feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we'll stay on for a few more minutes. Couple things to note on our end. If you were here in December for our AB 98 legislative training series, that is now on the website and in our YouTube. So if you are looking for the webinar recording, it's the same place that we'll be posting this webinar, and really encourage you to check that out, especially if you're an IE jurisdiction that has to implement AB 98 requirements. I also want to plug our new website, our marketing. You know, we're all volunteers here at Planning Association, and the marketing team led by Tony Lopez has done an incredible job on our website. And we're really trying to build that out, add more resources, including links like this. But we'd love to hear from you if you have ideas on programming and ideas for you know, future events, future lunch and learns. We also want to have future meetings, some of them in person. And so really welcome your input and ideas on this. And we want to bring you content that's going to be really helpful. So that's all I have. We'll give you some of your lunch break back. Robert, is there anything you want to add before we jump? Same thing with Kevin and Spike.
No, you just touched on it. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that as soon as we get the video, when it gets processed, it'll be loaded up to YouTube and it'll be on both the website and YouTube. We're gonna try to get those on there as soon as possible. That way you don't have to wait for them. So as soon as we get it out, we'll also send a direct email to those that registered, letting them know that it's up there. But we'll aim for the end of this week.
And nothing else on our end. Thank you so much for having us.
Great, thank you. And
Yeah,
there is
thank you,
actually an additional question. Can the APR go right to council, or does it have to go to planning commission first? My understanding is it can go right to council.
I believe that's right. We don't
too.
enforce that. Yeah.
Okay, it's probably dependent on the local process.
Yep. All we know is that it has to go to council, basically.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then once again, there's another question about the sending it to OPR. It does look like you will need to send it to OPR after you've submitted it to HCD. All right. And then I saw just another comment come through about switching to digital permitting systems, which we know a lot of communities are already doing or will have to do. Just note that would be helpful to make sure that these portals and these systems communicate and automate the process.
Yeah, I think that's something, especially with the survey, something we're hoping to hear about. I mean, way early in the game, but would love to get an idea of who's using what, and how things can be integrated more smoothly. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Really appreciate you joining. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.